Is Trump about to pump the entire crypto market? This is something that we now have to focus on going into this new week because we got some news. We're going to be addressing this. We're going to be talking about it. But first, let's address the market itself. The market has now flipped green on the weekly, on the daily, the monthly, the yearly. It's all green across the board. Now, yes, there's still a lot of major sell pressure out there. There's still a lot of negative price action in this market as well. So, yeah, the market is bouncing back, but we're not yet out of the woods just yet. We can't celebrate too early here. But on the daily, this is what the daily looks like. XLM is up about 3.1%. HBAR up about almost 1%. Nothing too crazy there. We are starting to see some nice gains across the altcoin market. Nothing too significant just yet outside of like a few, like M up 35.6%. But, again, we're starting to see a nice little bounce on this lower time frame structure within the market, which is very good to see. Bitcoin is almost at $110,000 again, up about 1.8%. Ethereum is still down about 1%, sitting around roughly $4,300. And then XRP around $2.77. Not a big change in the market on XRP. Ultimately, price action on XRP will most likely be pretty boring until we see the market open and see how the market opens as well. A lot of people are anticipating, a big open for stocks, especially with how the market has been booming around specific, areas, which we'll, talk about in this video as well. But, for the main part of this, we really just focus on the lower time frame structure of crypto and where we're at right now leading into the market open. So far, it's been a pretty calm weekend. Yes, we've seen some negative price action. Yes, the market has had, a major pullback, but, for the most part, there hasn't been a lot of volatility, which I think is something that we can appreciate. But this is what the total market cap looks like for crypto, hovering just around $3.78 trillion. Altcoin season index about 48 out of 100, so no major change there. It's kind of just in the neutral territory. And the market is starting to bounce slightly, nothing too significant just yet, which is why I said, we can't celebrate too early here, because although there is some nice bounces across the board here, they're very shallow. They're very shallow, and they haven't flipped significant levels yet to confirm that this was the bottom and that we're bottomed out. But the main thing to also focus on is that fear and greed is still around 39, so we are still in those fearful levels, as you guys can see here. And it's for good measure. I mean, most of the market right now, we're kind of in that situation of we don't know what's going to happen next. We're still waiting on something to happen on the charts to tell us, hey, this was the bottom. And while we wait for this, it's really questionable on what comes next, which is why a lot of people are in that neutral territory. Although the market's telling us that, we are in fear, there's definitely a lot of fear out there, but most of those that have been participating in these markets for a while, they're kind of on the neutral territory. I'm still very bullish going into September. I mean, it's now officially September 1st. Now it's technically September 2nd by the time that this video goes live. But, when we think about this, September is going to be a very good month for crypto, in my opinion. The first half might not be as bullish, but I still think that it's going to be a very great month for crypto, especially with the Fed FOMC meeting. A lot of people think that there's not going to be a rate cut. I assume that there will be, especially with the market conditions outside of crypto and stocks. I feel like the environment right now is calling for cuts. I know that a lot of people think that they should raise the rates, but it's questionable on what happens. I still think that we get a rate cut. CME Group is telling us that there's a 80+% chance of it as well. So I'm kind of leaning towards that way as well. In terms of Bitcoin, though, just taking a quick look at Bitcoin, 109.5K. We're trying to break over that level that we tried to flip earlier in the morning of yesterday at about roughly 5:45 a.m. We tried to flip 110K. We did not do that. We actually sold off from that level, but we started to create some higher low structure on the lower time frame, which is exactly what we want to see anyways. Now we're looking for some higher highs. Trading volume on Bitcoin is also up significantly. Same with Ethereum, by the way. If we go over here to the Ethereum chart real quick on the 7-day structure, this doesn't look the best because we have a lower low here and lower highs. So Ethereum has a little bit of work here to do. Trading volume is still up about 32+%. Remember, trading volume is not all positive. This is positive and negative trading volume combined. But looking at this thing on the monthly, we still look pretty good, comparing it back to the end of August. Like this is August 19th. So we still are at some higher lows here. We need to create some higher highs going off of just some of these lower highs that we have from the high from the 24th. So I'm just definitely watching that when it comes to Ethereum. And then XRP, XRP is going to remain pretty, boring right now, in my opinion, especially as we do really kind of focus on Bitcoin right now and Ethereum, which is mainly the show stealer at this point. XRP up about 85.62% in trading volume in the last 24 hours. Again, positive and negative. Just looking at this thing on the 1 month, we are at lower lows, which is not the best to see. If we're looking at the 1 year, again, some pretty bearish price action here. We are still in that bull flag formation, and I'm watching to see if we're going to see that retest of the December highs, which when it comes to the chart, I'll address that. But talking about the charts, let's dive on in real quick to a few charts, and then I'll get into why we think that President Trump could possibly pump the crypto markets this week. Here we have Bitcoin. So again, Bitcoin, nice reaction off of the lows. The main level that we want to see flipped is this like 111 to 113.5K region. Flipping this will be that signal that this is the bottom. So far, very good price action here. I think reclaiming some of these lower highs back here in June will also be a very good signal. So just breaking over like 110.4K or breaking over some of the support levels that we held on the daily towards the end of this the August month, right? This would be a big level for us to flip. 110K itself, so far it has been acting as resistance even on the previous daily candle. So flipping this would be a big signal, and then we could actually get into this red zone to retest a potential larger breakout, which will cause us to have this move that I have outlined on the chart actually happen. So right now, currently on Bitcoin, very good price action. We are not out of the woods yet. Just make sure to watch for a big break to the upside, because a lot of people probably thought that this was the bottom on Bitcoin. And then guess what? Boom, we have another sell-off chop, and now we're kind of doing the same sort of move here where we don't know if the bottom's in or not. We don't know if this was the bottom. We need to start to create some bullish structure here on the lower time frame. So that's what we're watching for right now. We should start to see that price data come in this week, especially with the market open. And the biggest thing to watch here is, the fact that Bitcoin dominance is still rising, up about 58.57% currently. This was a nice bounce. It is bouncing along with Bitcoin. I think that once we start to really see this breaking out, we'll start to see the same sort of price action from this point, where we are starting to break to the upside, and then all of a sudden, boom, we just continue to sell off. Technically a dead cat bounce on Bitcoin dominance. I'm not really bullish on this chart at all, but we need to be aware of the fact that this is starting to rise. So altcoins could definitely get hit in a big way if we start to see another additional sell-off on Bitcoin. And of course, with Bitcoin dominance rising, we are seeing weakness on Ethereum dominance, which is why we're not seeing Ethereum really bouncing back the way that Bitcoin is on the daily. I mean, this is what the daily looks like for Ethereum. This is what the daily looks like on Bitcoin. It's two completely different stories, and that's because of the dominant side of the market. Now, with that, this is what Ethereum still looks like. We are still creating that higher low structure. So, all is good there. We want this to continue. We want to maintain this. We want to hold these lows. That way we could start to target those higher highs. So really kind of looking at these highs, which is also a new all-time high for Ethereum. And if we do close over 48.84 on the daily, that will be the big signal that the altcoin market is next to really wake up. And then, of course, last but not least, XRP. XRP still hovering around this like $2.75 level. So far we have held this. This is very good to see. Now, just like I said, if we are going to start to see next, these crucial next levels targeted, well, we're looking at the December 2024 highs. We already tapped those. The next level of interest, if we're going to tap an additional level of interest, would be the May highs, and that would be down here at about $2.60. So we need to just be cautious here. That level is not out of the, this is not out of the question yet. We could still easily target these levels down here and create a lower low on XRP, going off of just our previous low, unless we see Bitcoin completely smash these targets, continue to break out, put in the bottom, which would also allow XRP to bottom around these levels and continue to fight back to this $3 and almost 8 cent level, which will also be the big level for us to break over to create a higher high on the lower time frame structure, which will also allow it to target the highs going back to the beginning of August around $3.40. And then after that, the July highs around $3 and almost 70 cents. So right now, XRP looking pretty good. I would argue that, right now with XRP and most altcoins, they're going to be pretty boring until we see the confirmation on Bitcoin and Ethereum to really break out. Now, the biggest thing that we got today was Trump. Yeah, that's right. On Tuesday at 2 p.m. ET, President Trump will be making an announcement from the Oval Office on Tuesday. Is this going to be bullish? Is it going to be bearish? Everyone is wondering what's next here. What's going to happen? The biggest thing to understand here is that, yes, this could lead to volatility. Yes, Tuesday can be one of the most volatile days that we've had in a very long time. Just be cautious about this. Just be very careful about this. Typically, when we get a date, when we get these big announcements, they lead to almost nothing. They're really nothing events. A lot of people are asking if it's a black swan. Is this going to be a pump? Is it going to be a dump? Guys, the best thing to do is to just completely zone this stuff out. This is all noise. It's all things to distract us away from what matters. The main thing to focus on is the charts. The main thing to focus on is the recovery here. And also the main thing to focus on is liquidity. And why do I bring this up? Well, it's because the US M2 money supply just reached a new all-time high of $22.12 trillion. This is telling us that, guess what? The US is printing money. The money supply is increasing. This is all liquidity. This is going to cause the market to surge even higher. This is extremely bullish for risk on assets because while we see this increasing, the dollar continues to lose a lot of strength. So this is why I'm focused on liquidity. And you might be wondering, well, Nick, how are people going to be buying crypto? There's not a lot of money out there. A lot of people are hurting right now. I understand that. I get that. But there's also $10+ trillion out there over in EU banks. And on top of that, money market funds in the US just hit $7.21 trillion. And you might be wondering, well, Nick, most of this is institutional, right? No. Most of this technically is institutional players, but almost $3 trillion of this $7.21 trillion is retail. There is a ton of money on the sidelines that could help prop these markets up even more and cause a surge across the board. And while we're thinking about this, gold just hit a new all-time high on top of stocks hitting the most expensive valuation in history, surpassing the dot-com bubble and the run-up to the Great Depression. We are seeing a bullish environment across the board, and we're just waiting for Bitcoin and crypto to make new all-time highs. Crypto is still just sitting there in the waiting room, waiting for something to happen, while all of these other markets are hitting new all-time highs and, liquidity is improving drastically. So let me ask all of you this. What do you think happens next? Crypto plays catch up. We are going to see a very significant surge going forward. I do think that the end of this year is just going to be extremely bullish, and it starts in September. September is the big month to really lock in, and guess what? It's now almost September 2nd. The market's about to open after a 3-day weekend. Lock in and prepare for some volatility, because I'm sure that there's going to be some volatility today on Tuesday, but after today, we should start to see the market really bouncing back in a big way. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, notifications on because some more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.